Heroes of the Storm is Blizzard Entertainment's foray into the world of multiplayer online battle arenas, or MOBAs for short. If you happen to live under a rock in relation to gaming and don't know what a MOBA is, it's a video game genre that acts as a gateway drug to depression. The game was announced in 2010 at BlizzCon and eventually released on June 2nd, 2015 on PC and Mac. On the surface, it seemed like the game had everything it needed to succeed. A strong developer behind it, recognisable and beloved characters, solid gameplay which contained its own kind of niche of 20-ish minute matches as opposed to the potential slogfests of hour-long matches that were present in other MOBAs, but in July 2022, Blizzard announced they had ended major development of the game and moved it into maintenance mode. So what happened? How did a titan of the industry launch a game into such a popular genre that ended up for all intents and purposes being a dead game? I just want to say anything in this video is my own opinion that I formed from my own experience with Heroes of the Storm, with other MOBAs, with Blizzard games in general, and couple that with the research I've put into this video. It's by no means any undeniable fact, and if you agree or disagree, let me know in the comments down below. So the first problem with Heroes of the Storm, I believe, was the fact it was marketed as a casual game in an ultra-competitive genre. And yes, I know, some of you might be arguing that it isn't exactly casual friendly, but when compared to League of Legends or Dota 2, it is a lot more accessible. There's no last hitting minions, no item builds you need to worry about, and talent builds are pretty straightforward even if you have never looked at a guide or how to play a certain hero or champion. Bring all this together, add a splash of imbalance, and top it off with the game being centered around team play and objectives, and you end up with a relatively good casual experience. However, MOBAs are not the genre that most casual gamers seek out and play. That would be akin to a fly actively seeking out a Venus flytrap. Now, while the team play and casual nature all sounds good on paper, a lot of players that do seek out the MOBA genre enjoy the power fantasy of their character getting stronger throughout a match and are looking for an ego boost by carrying their team. Now, you can make plays in Heroes of the Storm, but it is not the marketed highlight like it is in other MOBAs. The game is more centered around capturing your flag, the team doing what they need to do, as opposed to one player coming in and getting a pentakill or whatever and winning the game. Being a casual friendly experience isn't inherently a bad thing, even for a MOBA, but that's where Blizzard themselves came in and kinda put their foot on it, to be honest. So I spent the last few minutes going through why the game is casual, or at least casual when compared to its main competitors in League of Legends and Dota. As said, that isn't inherently a bad thing, but Blizzard decided to take a different route with their market, and as such the Heroes of the Storm Global Championship was born. Blizzard did their best to push this hard as an esport, with the inaugural championship taking place in 2016, and while Blizzard put the resources behind it, the attention and viewership simply didn't follow. This continued through 2017 and 2018 with their respective championships, until finally in December 2018 the death knell was sounded for Heroes of the Storm as a competitive game, as Blizzard announced a number of developers were going to be taken from the Heroes of the Storm team and moved to other projects within the company, and that also the Heroes Global Championship and Heroes of the Dorm, which was its smaller college equivalent in the United States, would not be returning for 2019. Blizzard's push had been for naught, and there is no doubt that this hurt the game. Perhaps a smaller team more focused on the game as a casual entity as opposed to focusing on pushing it as a competitive title would have worked, who's to say. So I know it sounds silly calling a company like Blizzard David in this scenario. They were the company behind some of the most successful IPs of all time, before their whole house of cards came tumbling down around them by their own hand. But both the League and Dota were and still are absolutely massive. We don't have numbers for League in 2015 or 2016, but in 2014 they had an active player base of 67 million players, a year before the launch of Heroes of the Storm. And Dota was seeing peaks around the 1 million mark for concurrent players back in 2015, with its all-time peak coming later in March 2016 at just shy of 1.3 million concurrent players. So, to try and enter this market was going to be tough, but this is Blizzard. They've had Diablo, StarCraft and the juggernaut of WoW that they can pull characters from, and surely they'd be able to compete. Blizzard once again failed the game as opposed to the game failing Blizzard in this regard. Instead of marketing the game far and wide and pushing hard for a slice of the pie against League and Dota, Blizzard seem to save most of their promotion and tie it into their own games, like rewards for pre-ordering Diablo 3, rewards for leveling up in Hearthstone and WoW, or for purchasing deluxe editions of StarCraft 2 and Overwatch when it released. Now, these aren't necessarily terrible ideas if you have a strong marketing campaign outside of your own IPs, but in my opinion, a player who wants to play an ARPG or an MMO or a card game isn't necessarily the same person who's going to be running to boot up a MOBA. So, these are some of the main reasons I think Heroes of the Storm just didn't work out. I mean, you can still play it. They even just launched a new patch on their PTR last week with balance and hero updates. However, the lack of new content and just lack of appetite for the game as a whole means that for the average person who isn't a die-hard fan, it doesn't amount to much more than something casual you can boot up every now and again with a few buddies for a handful of games and you don't touch it again for months. Which is a shame really, because personally I love a lot of Blizzard IPs and characters, and a MOBA with those characters is something that does appeal to me. Alas, for these reasons, along with multiple others that I could be here for hours discussing, Blizzard made the decision in July 2022 to place the game on life support, announcing no new content and that the few who remained on the development team would be charged with supporting it in maintenance mode. That's it from me for today's video. What do you think went wrong with Heroes of the Storm? Let me know in the comments, and if you enjoyed the video, please drop a like or subscribe, and I'll see you in the next one. Take care.